Hello, I just finished Mob Psycho 100 2 weeks ago, but so let's talk about that. So first of all, audio. I don't have much to say in here because there's nothing really. The audio isn't anything spectacular. The voice actors are fine, the background music is fine, and the sound effects are fine. It has a really good background music, especially when it gets using with the psychedelic effects. And there will be now an example of that. Hopefully, I will remember to put it at the end of this section. But yeah, just in general, it's the background music is just fine. It's really a good supporting background music, but it isn't anything spectacular. It does its job well.
力が弱すぎて気づかなかったよ。まあいいや。グループの仲間外れを殺すのがあんたの宗教の方針なら。
Breaking the structure a little bit, let's talk about the story. Now, the story is rather simple to begin with. It's nothing really exactly intricate or complex, but that is kind of a middling point. But there's a really heavy focus on the narrative of underlying narrative of talent. Just talking about talent just in general and how your innate born talents don't necessarily mean anything as your value as a human being. And I really do dig that. That's a really good narrative to have. So just in general, I do like that. The story arcs are very simple and they focus on that on differing degrees, and I do like that. Mostly though, the story is just a way to get from one fight to another, and even though there is still this whole conversation about the talent, yeah, it's mostly just a simple. Now, so it's not overly complex story, which is kind of another neutral thing. However, you can take that as a positive part, kind of, because you then, in that case, you can just simply enjoy the story for what it is, even though it isn't anything deep. Now, of course, there is nothing really a huge moral in the story, which is not necessary to have, but it's again makes it a lot more shallow than it would actually be. Now, what I do specifically like here in the story, it is the whole brother psychology, or the brothers part of it, the interactions between the brothers and how those two will relate to one another, and how that again feeds back into the talent narrative. So yeah, that's pretty cool. However, if I have to say a minus thing, that would be that it's kind of slow to start off. The very first 3 or so episodes, in my opinion, were really, disregarding few good animation parts, it was really boring and slow to start off with, so that's kind of a negative. But those are still kind of necessary so that you can actually get in the mood of or get in the flow of things, and you are introduced to the characters and all that, so that's kind of necessary. But it's kind of regrettable. Then let's talk about the characters. Now, Mob himself I find to be a rather interesting main character, mostly because of the narrative about talent, how he readily accepts that his talent, latent potential, or his potential of his psychic abilities don't actually make him any more valuable as a human being, and that's something that I really quite enjoyed seeing. So yeah, I really do like that. But his character isn't anything deep, but it's a simple character study, and it works pretty well in my opinion. Just if you like that, if you are interested in the talent narrative. But if you're not, then he's a simple a simple main character that really doesn't have much going behind him. But still, he's a very well functioning as a main character, because he certainly is rather unique in most respects. So yeah. Another character who really supports the narrative about talent is of course his little brother Ritsu, and I really quite like him as well, because he's a really stark contrast from Mob, whereas Mob has only potential in psychic abilities, but Ritsu has none, and Ritsu has all that. He is highly talented in all other fields except psychic abilities. Until, of course, we're not gonna talk about spoilers yet. So yeah, you know. Then another character that I really kind of liked, but I didn't like as much as other reviewers have kind of liked, is Reigen, who I found to be a good fresh change of pace, and he's really makes everything, all of the jokes to be. He's a really good source of comedy for the show, but that's about him. In my opinion, that's about it. But everybody can value him differently. If you like the jokes, he's really quite a remarkable addition. And then there's two characters that come out a little bit later, so close your ears for for half a minute if you want. Spoiler alert, maybe? Whatever. So, Teru and Dimple, who are both really good supporting characters, both of them having some sort of psychic abilities, and they are really kind of very well, they bounce their narrative about talent and innate psychic abilities off of Mob quite a bit and quite well, so I really do like how they support the narrative as well. So the visuals, they are really quite excellent. Now, they are very, very excellent in motion and during the battles between different psychics, between psychics. They are really quite fantastic. They're excellent Sakuga moments and in motion. There's a lot of good Sakuga moments in the show, and they look really psychedelic. The visuals, it's a really huge visual fiesta whenever there's a battle going on, and they look really fantastic. However, just in general, the visuals can be really, really rough to get used to, so if you really are turned off by the visuals, they don't get any better, and that's by purpose. I really do like the visual style, but I can see why some people would be turned off by that. And if you don't think the battles look that interesting, then you really can't watch the show really that well because of that. But yeah, the battles are really amazing.
大人のお兄さん、言っとくけどお前のせいだからな。二度と僕たちの前に顔を出すな。面倒な。硬い。さっきとは別物。
So, what do I recommend about the show? I recommend the show for its visuals. The psychedelic visuals during battles are really, really intense, and they look really quite cool. I really like the narrative about the brothers and the difference between them, but that's mostly because I have two brothers as well, and I can see some lot of parallels there. So, if you have brothers, you might like the story quite a bit more. And the minor focus, or rather a major focus on talent. So the focus of the story is on talent quite a bit, and that is something that I also would recommend from the show. That is a huge recommendation for the show if you're interested in talent-focused narrative. However, the show is not deep. That's kind of a minus point, because, you know, it's usually stories that are deep are maybe a little more interesting, but, you know, and the visuals can be a little rough, so if you might have to get used to that, or might have to just skip the show entirely if you have checked the battles out and they don't look really that interesting. So, what do I want to highlight? I want to highlight 3 battles, and those are in episode 5, 8 and 3. And those are Teru, one of those claw members, and yeah, and of course Ryan getting really freaking amazing moment with in the final episode. That's something I want to focus on. Those are really the good highlights here, and so just roll them out. Alright?
リクエストに応えて出てきたよ。これが僕の感情だ。身を委ねるとこうなる。化け物かてめえ。だがレイザービーム。さあ突撃。撃ってきた修羅場の数が勝敗を分け。僕は最低だ。おいお前、こんなの初めてだ。わかるか。ああ、僕の敵。俺が手をつかされた。あんなガキに。あの男。
いい。その言葉を聞いた瞬間、モブの中でいびつに膨らみ爆発したエネルギーは行き先を変えていた。人の言葉が与える影響は時折計り知れない。力を持つ者は戦わなければならない。その責任がモブの橋を崩していた。しかし誰かがそっと手を伸ばすだけで心の解決につながることがある。結果一時的にモブの持つ全エネルギーがレーゲンに丸投げされた。実質逃げおおせたのである。晴れやかな気分で。心にあるのはただ一つ、死への感謝。
So I hope that kind of sells you as that's my opinion about the show. I really do like it. It's a really good show in my opinion. Or not really good. It's not one of my favorite shows, but I do like some moments of it really quite a lot. And in the end, when the fights start rolling out, then the visuals get really intense and really show off the show's budget quite a bit. And I really do like it when it gets to that point. So then I did it actually. I really binge watched a lot of the show. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day and stay awesome. Gunmu out. Next up is Star vs. the Forces of Evil.